Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Cyfrin interview. We're actually recording this. We're not doing this live. I have here with me Leo from Wallet Scrutiny. We'll have some links to the tools and the sources that he works on. But basically, he's been doing for a long time, he's been checking out different wallets and testing them to say, hey, should you use this wallet? Should you not use this wallet? I'll let Leo introduce himself a little bit more as we get going. But Leo, how are you doing?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Why don't you introduce yourself first? Who are you?
Oh, I'm Leo Wandersleep from Munich, Germany, and I came to Chile to work on a project, on a startup, but I stayed here in Chile for my family that I found here, and I'm working on Wallet Scrutiny since 4 years now, more than 4 years now. I've been working on Bitcoin wallets before, and I saw a missing piece of the puzzle there. And I tried to fill that gap with wallet scrutiny that I started in my free time while being a wallet developer.
So I kind of want to dig into that a little bit too. You being a wallet developer, but you said there was a missing piece to the puzzle. So what was that missing piece?
The problem is that there's many wallets out there, and most of those wallets, or almost all of those wallets, have a single point of failure, meaning that there are people in the supply chain that could at any point steal all the money of all the users of that particular money. So this is something being talked about in the context of hardware wallets. So don't buy some Trezor of eBay from some secondhand, whatever, you don't know who it is. But the same problem applies for software too. So while many people have eBay accounts, there's also many software developers, and the more than 6,000 wallets that I've seen are a testament of how many people are working on Bitcoin wallets. Yeah. And not all of them might have the best of intentions. And while there's many obvious scams, I'm pretty sure there must also be some that try to look nice and look like they are really the real deal, but they might just bait and switch and empty all the accounts of all the users at once at some point. And if it's not the purpose of the product, I'm pretty sure there's people that hire developers and then the developers do those things. Like I was a release manager of a Bitcoin wallet, and my boss has not seen me in person. He was thousands of kilometers away when he hired me. And if somebody had come to me at some point, I'll kill your family unless you put in some backdoor. Yeah, I probably would have put in some backdoor. So you cannot even trust the most trustworthy people.
Right.
And so, yeah, if that risk exists, and if it's at the discretion of the wallet software to empty all those accounts, then who could have that access to enforce that? It might be some psychopath developer that found it entertaining to become release manager, which probably isn't too hard to achieve if you think of, I mean, I don't know how many psychopaths there are that get good at programming, but it
Yeah.
cannot be zero.
Right. So Leo, before we go down that path a little bit more, yeah, like I love what you're saying though, right? You're saying, hey, a lot of these wallets, they have a single point of failure. You can't, there are some people that even if they're super trustworthy, they can be coerced, they can be forced. There can always be a chance of somebody sticking a backdoor into any type of wallet, right? And specifically you in Wallet Scrutiny, you guys look at Bitcoin wallets. So just kind of at a high level. So what does Wallet Scrutiny do? Like what does Wallet Scrutiny do?
So we look at products and we try to identify if if the supply chain can be well, First, we look, is it a Bitcoin wallet at all? Because there are products that are called Bitcoin wallet and they are not really Bitcoin or wallet or anything of that. And if they check all the boxes, you can send Bitcoins with them. There, then and it is not a custodial thing. So the coins are not with some third party, because the third party, of course, can head off with those Bitcoins at any time, which happened many times already.
Yep.
So if it is supposedly self-custodial, we check if there is anything to verify that. And in that case, it is the source code. And if we find source code, we try to compile the product. And if that fails, we report on that. And if it succeeds, we report on our findings, if it is the same product or if it's a different product. Yeah, you could say, yeah, that's our source code, and the wallet looks completely different after you compile it. And we do not look at the product running it. We look at the binary of the product. So there is source code that you can compile, and there is a compiled source code, supposedly the same source code compiled, that you can download, for example, from Google Play or from the repository where your hardware wallet gets its updates from. And we get those binaries and we compare them to what we compile. And if they don't match to the last byte, is not 100% correct, because those binaries also contain signatures, and those signatures cannot be reproduced without knowing the private keys. So we allow some differences there. We allow those 64 bytes to differ, for example, in the case of some hardware wallets, or some hardware wallets might reserve more space for the signatures. But we check if the rest of the bytes are 100% identical, and we report on those to be reproducible.
Right.
So reproducible is a byte for byte check if it was built from the source code.
Right. So Leo, if I may, so it sounds like there's 4 major steps to what you at Wallet Scrutiny do, right? So you all check out Bitcoin wallets that say that they're non-custodial, right? That they're self-custody or whatever you want to call it. I actually hate the term non-custodial, but that's another conversation. You check to see if Bitcoin wallets that are self-custody actually are self-custody, they actually compile, and the binary of their source code actually matches the binary of the product. So it sounds like there's 4 steps. Number 1, are you a Bitcoin wallet? Number 2, are you actually self-custodial? Number 3, does your source code compile? And then number 4, does the binary of the source code actually match what the wallet says it does?
Yeah, it's a bit, there's a few more steps, because we report on more nuance when we don't get, for example, to the self-custodial part. So some products let you speculate on the value of Bitcoin, but we distinguish between those and those that actually let you send and receive Bitcoins. And but yeah, in the top categories, that's the main steps.
Right. So do you do a security review of the code base then? You're saying, hey, there's
impossible.
some nuance. Okay, so it's possible you do some security reviews.
It's impossible to do the code review, because it's just a full-time job for a single wallet. So I was that guy that was doing the security review of wallets for a popular wallet for 5 years, or like for 4 years. I was the release manager. And during that time, it was a full-time job to investigate after what the rest of the team was doing and implementing, and trying to stay ahead of all the changes that flew into the source code. And whatever the designer wants to use a new library that would show the icons more round or whatever, that you have to investigate. Should we trust that library, or might it contain some wallet stealing feature, which happened in, like, the libraries getting contaminated by wallet stealers is something that happened in the case of Coinbase, what's the name? The Copay wallet. They had the case where they were using some not so popular library, and then that library lost its maintainer, and somebody said, "Oh, I could maintain that one," and that new maintainer built in a wallet stealer that was targeting copay.
So if you're saying though, if you're saying it's impossible to do a code review on a single wallet, right? Because there's so much code. You did it before as a release manager. It was basically your full-time job. What are the nuanced bits, or what are the important bits that you look at? Because you said you look at some different parts. Are you then, I guess how does this affect your process? Like when you look at a wallet and you say, hey, it passed all of our tests, are you trying to tell people, hey, yes, this is secure? Or are you just trying to say, hey, it just passed our tests?
We are trying to say it just passed our tests, and we have a disclaimer about that. We are not vouching for the product to be secure. There's very reasonable it's very reasonable to assume that a wallet could put in a backdoor in a public code repository, even in the main code repository, and it would not get caught by anybody, because there is just no external review process for 99% of the wallet products out there. There is a huge amount of resources that goes into checking on Bitcoin Core, and there's some amount for maybe the most popular wallets. For example, the Andreas Schildbach wallet has reviewers because it is an actual open source product that gets forked by other, especially by altcoin wallets that try to adopt it for the different coins, and then they check on all those changes, and they would catch issues. But for products that are public source but not open source, nobody cares about the source code other than the actual users, maybe, and the core team that's working on it. So it's there's not many eyes on the code.
So if you're, it sounds like this is kind of terrifying me, right? So you're saying, hey, like a lot of these wallets, nobody's really checking, right? Nobody is 100% sure that, hey, if somebody says it's actually non-custodial, it's actually non-custodial. You're saying you're checking that out, but from a security perspective, you're saying nobody's looking at the vast majority of wallets.
Right.
That's pretty terrifying. I don't know what else to say other than that's pretty terrifying.
So, yeah, that's what I mean. I would love to tackle that issue, but it is like a $10,000 job to review a wallet, and we don't have that kind of resources for dozens of wallets that are actually verifiable. We say we say verifiable, but we don't say verified. Yeah, so you could verify it if you had the resources to, and the others are not even verifiable. So if somebody checked the open source code and would say, yeah, that wallet is secure, but they don't release the same product, then there could still be some weird thing going on, even if they got the stamp of approval by some audit firm.
So Leo, if you're saying, hey, we can check if it's a Bitcoin wallet, yes, we can do that. We can check if it's non-custodial pretty easily. We can check if the binary matches the product. However, it's really, really difficult to do a security review, and nobody is really doing these security reviews on these Bitcoin wallets. Where do you come into play? How does Wallet Scrutiny fit into it? Is Wallet Scrutiny just to at least say, hey, this at least passes the floor threshold of usability?
No, we don't look at usability at all. So we had a top listed Bitcoin Core client on your Android phone, which was like we introduced new categorizations for that because it was not being worked on for many years, and now it is a obsolete product because it's not maintained and stuff. But it was not usable when it was pretty high in our ranking. So we don't look at usability. And what worries me is that we don't have even a way to communicate a bad gut feeling. So there is a product that I publicly warned people about many, many, many times, and they were now reproducible at some point. and we had to list them objectively as something reproducible, because because I try to be objective about what I'm testing for. And if I cannot point to the back door, and if I say no, they are obviously very shady, and they say no, we're just the real deal cypherpunks, and sure, we don't show our identity because we are the real cypherpunks, yeah. Then it's it's a hard sell to say, yeah, we mark them as scammers because they haven't scammed yet anybody. But these exit scams, they happen from 1 second to the other. And then when we approve them as being reproducible, then it falls back on us that we said that they are doing everything right according to our metrics.
Right.
So
So here's actually what I'm trying to figure out then, right? So if you're saying, hey, I'm being objective. We have these checks that wallets can pass. If they don't, it doesn't mean they're safe. However, you want to send some signal to people to use or not use a wallet, right? So what is the signal that Wallet Scrutiny is trying to signal? If I go to Wallet Scrutiny, I pick wallet X, it says 5 of 10 tests have passed. Does that tell me I should stay far away from it? Is it to say I should reconsider? Like what is the message? So why do you work so hard to review and do these tests on so many of these wallets? If it's not a, hey, this is good to use, if it's not like a kind of formal, yeah, use this or don't, why do you work so hard to do all this?
It's not only trying to convince users of one product or the other. It's my interest is much more to raise awareness of the providers. So I would love to get to a state where the providers care about reproducibility broadly enough that they advertise it, that they are actually distributing what was publicly developed, and that they decelerate their release process. Because currently, even if it is reproducible, the default for an Android wallet is that the update gets installed by like at any time. So the provider could just make a new release and everybody would install it. Like most people would just install the latest release, and nobody would know if there is source code available or not. And there would not be anything to stop this from happening. I'm focusing a lot on Android because I was an Android developer as a wallet developer back then. But and the same problem does not really apply for hardware wallets, for example. Hardware wallets have a much slower rollout of new versions. But especially for the mobile wallets, it's just so easy for the provider to rug pull, even if the last version was doing everything right. So I hope to reach people to get at least a way to test if the wallet is on auto update. And I would ask people to switch off auto update for their Bitcoin wallets to decelerate the update cycle. So if there is a rogue client released, they have some time to decide to update to it and not get it automatically the day that it gets released by some rogue release manager.
So this is really interesting. It sounds like you're saying to me, and then correct me if I'm wrong here, you're saying, Patrick, we don't even have time to begin to talking about doing security reviews on these wallets, because most of these wallets, you can't even reproduce what the code is. You don't even know what the code is. So in order for us to even get to a point where we can even begin to start conducting security reviews or doing security on these wallets, is we need to have a culture around, can I reproduce this wallet based off what the source code says? Does it compile? And once we get there, then we can start having much better conversations. Okay, cool. It compiles, source code matches. Great. Let's turn off auto updates. And if you turn that off, now the developer can't push something and essentially, rug pull you with an update to one of their hardware pushes. Or you're saying, once we get there, so it sounds like you're saying two things here. Once we get to this point where everyone follows kind of this cultural norm, then we can start having serious conversations about Bitcoin wallet security. And then also we should all turn off auto update on our wallets. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
That sounds phenomenal. And actually, you point out something I think a lot of people don't even know. So a lot of people have, many different types of wallets. Obviously, we do a lot of work in the EVM ecosystem where a lot of people are using browser wallets. I probably don't even want to ask your opinion on browser wallets, but a lot of these browser wallets, they will auto update or they will auto install, and they'll have no idea that something changed code wise.
Right.
So how important is it for users, for Bitcoin Bitcoin holders who have Bitcoin wallets to turn off auto updates, to check the security of their wallets? How important should we all be paying way more attention to your website?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, of course, I would love more interest and more contributors, and I hope to get more funding for it. But right now, I'm getting funding. So Spiral is funding, or is currently on a second-year grant.
Who's Spiral? So this is great to
Spiral,
hear, by the way, that you're getting funding.
yeah, it's a subsidiary of Block Inc.
Oh, okay.
So Jack Dorsey company.
Nice. Okay, so I guess my initial reaction is, okay, what would their incentive be to doing this? But obviously, if they're very Bitcoin pilled, right, they would want the Bitcoin ecosystem to be secure. And in order to do that, we need people like your site actually at least saying, hey, can't even verify if this code is good or not because they haven't passed my wallet scrutiny steps.
Right. So I'm pretty sure they care about their stake in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And
right.
If we have wallet hacks left and right, then it's just not ready for major adoption. Mm-hmm. And if we don't do it the wallet scrutiny way, then we might do it the government way, that they come in with some, oh, you need to get our stamp of approval, and for
right.
your own security, only transactions where the central bank co-signs on the transaction will be possible. And we certainly don't want such a path. So self-regulation will be required. And I still dream of a world where we don't need to regulate, but we just show people like, hey, how many people do have to lose their money before you listen and you see what I see. And I don't know. We'll see.
This is a really eye-opening interview just so far. So you've done 6,000 reviews. You've done over 6,000 reviews. Is it just you doing these reviews, doing these tests?
We have currently quite a lot of contributors that are paid. So I'm paying 3 developers to work on a plugin that would allow people to give more nuanced feedback on products, that would allow to actually warn about products that get the top approval by the very rigid 4 steps that you mentioned before. And Danny is a very long time contributor who is also paid from the grant, who is doing the preliminary review. Like when we have a list of 500 products, then he just goes through them one by one and checks, is it a wallet? Is it or does it claim to be self-custodial? Often those products, they don't make explicit claims about that. So that's already wild that it's that you have to search their terms of service for some phrases that hint in one direction or the other, when they say, oh, your funds are secured by a 3 levels military security, whatever. Okay, it's custodial. This doesn't work on my phone, so it has to be custodial. Yeah.
Right.
So when they talk about the most secure stuff, then for me it sounds like, okay, this has to be, all the coins are controlled by you or even yet a third party. So some, not most, but some of the custodial products, they use another custodian, but they claim to use certain custodians, and it's held in Coinbase custody. And then you try to verify that, and you cannot verify that neither. So Okay. Can I ask Coinbase who is using their
Right.
custody? I don't think so. Yeah.
Right.
So
So a lot of these custodial wallets, is that something that Wallet Scrutiny, is that something that you look into as well? Is it, hey, if someone says, hey, we are custodial, a part of me is like, okay, well, I feel like I kind of want to write them off right there. Are
right.
are custodial wallets that you are interested in?
Interested in that, I want to warn about them because it's not the point of Bitcoin to use
Mm,
custodial products. Where it's getting interesting is new forms of custody. So the especially the Chaumian mints have me very intrigued to scale Bitcoin to the next level.
mm,
So I hope to. I mean, I think that at some point I will probably be part of a Chaumian mint for my family and friends, and we will manage our funds in a very privacy conserving way uh, where the custodian is in fist's reach. So it's not like some faraway company where I have no idea if I could sue them if they decided to confiscate my coins, or if their government would decide that they have now to hand over those coins or whatever. Yeah. So I think those more community-based custody solutions, they will require a new verdict there, and where it might be interesting to look into the source code again. But currently, we list all those custodial solutions just as
mm.
custodial. We warn of the risks of custody. We warn of, yeah, there is probably single persons that could decide to confiscate all your coins at any point in time. Yeah, and I mean, they either get hacked or they pretend to get hacked, and then the coins are gone, and nobody knows
Right.
what's going on. How do you prove that they actually did not get hacked? Or yeah, so
So
it's yeah,
so we're interested in custodial wallets as far as telling other people, hey, maybe don't use a custodial wallet.
right.
That sounds great. That sounds like it makes a lot of sense to me. So Wallet Scrutiny, Leah, what you've been doing, you've been looking at these custodial wallets, you've been looking at these non-custodial wallets, doing these tests, trying to get the security of our hardware solutions up to a point where it makes sense, because basically what you're telling me right now is like, hey, most wallets suck. What should we look for as consumers, as wallet users? And let's go two paths here. Let's go the non-technical person and then the technical person. What should a non-technical person look for when they're deciding a wallet solution to use, when they're picking a wallet?
Well, I would generally hope that most people still look into custodial products, although I see that some parts of the world where people don't have enough money to pay 10 $15 for transaction fees. So we might get into an area where self-custody will just price out many people, and that's where the Chaumian mints come in, where you can be part of Lightning transactions without having actual self-custody. But other than that, I hope people choose a custodial wallet, and if it's a self-custodial wallet, and either self-custodial or not, they hopefully choose a product where the team behind it is trustworthy and competent. And there are many products that have millions of users that prove to be not competent, or where the founders are not known, or the contributors are not known. They are anonymous. They use stock photos as their team photos. They're and try to avoid those products. And if they promise like spectacular yield or something, then stay away from those, and try to get somewhere where you understand what's going on with the finances, and
Right.
and that the people behind it are trustworthy.
So it almost sounds like, I mean, for a non-technical person, this is kind of a large task, right? In the Bitcoin and the blockchain, the cryptocurrency world, we go, hey, we don't need to trust. We have blockchain, right? Like my transaction is going to go through because decentrality is amazing. But yet when it comes to choosing a wallet, now all of a sudden this trust element is re-entered. If I want to choose a solution, I kind of have to do a lot of due diligence on these different teams. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the most solid heuristic I could think of is how long has that provider been in the space, and has it also gone through hard times? Yeah? So if it has only grown so far, then maybe it's just waiting to pull the rug, and it'll do so, although it is in the space since 3 years already. Yeah, but then there's other players that are just so long in the space that you can assume that those founders have just fuck your money. They don't care to scam
Right.
their users, and they just believe in the project, and that's the people you want to be with.
So the beauty of Bitcoin is we don't have to trust governments, we don't have to trust institutions, we don't have to trust central banks. We remove this centralized entity, and yet to interact with this amazing technology, we have to go through some trusted entity by proxy because of the wallet solution we choose.
And we try to remove that requirement for trust at exactly that level at Wallet Scrutiny, because if we can scrutinize, or if we can verify that the source code matches the binary, then we can test if you have the same binary installed as the other guy, and then you can know that your version was at least audited. Yes. But that's still the next step. We're not there yet.
So I hear what you're saying, right? You're saying we found a giant hole in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Bitcoin is great because it allows you not to have to trust the big guy, yet to interface with that technology, you have to trust somebody. And we're saying Wallet Scrutiny is saying, okay, well, if they don't follow these steps, you can't even verify if you can trust them or not. So solving a huge puzzle piece in the ecosystem. And I really I understand what you're saying now when you said that earlier. Hey, you found a hole. This isn't just security. We're checking to make sure, can we even verify that this works? And that's a crucial piece to this whole Bitcoin system working, is the interface that we interact with the blockchain with. So just doing a bit of recap here. And then the number one heuristic for choosing one of these wallet providers is how long have they been around and how trustworthy is the team? Can you verify the wallet? If yes, compare it up against a security audit that they have done. So it sounds like these are the major pieces for somebody non-technical to verify a wallet. Yes.
I think you need somebody technical to do that for you.
That's what I was going to say next. So and the final bit is you need somebody technical to verify a wallet. So let's move over there. So as a technical person, how do you go about picking a wallet?
Well, I wouldn't trust my big savings to a mobile wallet or even a web wallet or something. So the hardware wallet, there's critics of hardware wallets too. They say, okay, there's people that put a lot of effort into providing you with a piece that you are then supposed to store life savings on it. Maybe they have bad intention. Maybe they generate weak private keys and empty your wallet afterwards. And I find that a quite valid concern. So to really be secure, you might want to have a multi-signature setup. And of course, you want to have open source hardware wallet, and you want to have slow updates. So, and you might want to use, but one key feature of hardware wallets is that you separate the transaction generation from the transaction signing. So unless your private keys are compromised, and you can avoid that by using dice where you generate your Bitcoin master seed by rolling dice or flipping coins, or drawing seed words from a bag of seed words. And so unless your private key is compromised, you are very secure, because the hardware wallet only signs what it gets from another device that generates the transaction. So you plug it into your computer, or ideally you have the air gap with the camera scans QR code way of doing things, and then you generate your transaction on your computer, maybe on your Sparrow wallet, and then you check if it is what you wanted to do, and yeah, it's sending $5 to the coffee shop, and then you say, okay, sign, and it says, okay, here, try to sign, and you get your hardware wallet, and it says, do you want to send $5 million to that other address? And you say, no. Of course, yeah. Or you say yes, and you say, and it says $5 to that other address, and you confirm it, and then you transfer the signature back to your other wallet, and then the other wallet cannot do anything but send those $5. It cannot send the $5 million. Yeah?
So that's really interesting. I feel like a lot of people definitely aren't doing that, right? You're saying separate the thing that does the signing from the thing that actually sends the transactions. I feel like for most users, even hearing that, they're going to go, oh, that's so much extra effort. But that's kind of your recommendation here. You think you should separate the two of them.
Yeah, and you should not use products by the same provider. So I mentioned Sparrow Wallet because Trezor does not provide Sparrow Wallet. So if they wanted to rug pull all the Trezor users by providing a companion, that's called the companion app, or we call it companion app at Wallet Scrutiny. So the companion app is what talks to the hardware wallet and does the transaction generation and not the signing. And if the companion app is provided by the same team, then they could exploit some bug in the hardware. So imagine the Trezor has some key leaking bug. So they could incorporate that in the Sparrow wallet if it was their product, or they could do it in their Trezor suite. And then you would use the Trezor suite, and the Trezor suite would collect private keys or signed transactions to empty your wallet without publishing them yet. Because with hardware wallets, again, the rollout is very slow. And even if you get it rolled out, then the question is, do they actually use this for a transaction with the Trezor suite, etc.? So to hack those hardware wallets, you need a lot more time than to hack mobile or browser wallets. So I'm not sure if browser or mobile is more vulnerable, because with browser wallets, you could do an update even when the user is not using the wallet. So when the new version gets installed, it could instantly leak the private keys to the hackers, while the browser wallet would just not get opened because you don't spend Bitcoins today or tomorrow, and you would be safe there. But yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead. Finish the thought.
Yeah, but the browser wallets are, of course, much worse, as there is no transparency about what is going on, because there is no versioning. You don't have a fingerprint of what you're actually running. So it's just total madness. There, every IP could get a different version, and it's
total madness. So that makes a lot of sense. So basically, you're saying, hey, browser wallets, pretty much just never use a browser wallet. And then additionally, you're saying probably mobile wallets too, never use. And the big reason you're saying not to use both of these is because you pretty much can't turn off auto update on these two, on the browser wallets or the mobile wallets. Is that right?
For mobile, you can.
For mobile,
but you have to do it on an app by app basis, at least for Android. I don't have iPhone, so but on iPhone you cannot fingerprint any product, because every user gets a different fingerprint, and you cannot even get the binary on a non-rooted phone, so or jailbroken on iPhone.
So if you want to use a mobile, you're saying you pretty much have to use Android, because that's really the only way for you to verify the app is actually what it says it is.
Right.
Interesting. Okay, so a couple of fantastic tips here already. Number one, you shouldn't use a browser wallet ever, because they can auto update without your permission. Number two, if you want to use a mobile wallet, you pretty much have to use Android, because that's the only way to pass wallet scrutiny tests. You can't do it on an iPhone because the fingerprint is going to be different. So, I mean, this is already fantastic. This already fantastic bits in the Bitcoin ecosystem. This is where I'm a little bit hazy here. Are there browser extension wallets? Is there like a Bitcoin MetaMask? Does that exist?
not MetaMask, but there are browser extension based Bitcoin wallets.
Do those have the same issues as the mobile wallets?
Like the browser extensions and the progressive web apps, what they're called.
Yep.
That's another issue. So let me back up a bit here.
Sure.
For example, everybody says, okay, Bitcoin Core basically invented reproducible builds, and it was like the first project where a reproducible build was like a really, really important issue, and they invented their new ways and they changed it here and there to even improve it, to not rely on big blobs of, oh yeah, we are using Debian, I don't know how much, which version to compile it, because what if Debian with its thousands of packages gets a backdoor that then injects a backdoor in Bitcoin Core? We need bootstrapability, not only reproducible and reproducibility on some kind of giant gigabytes heavy operating system, but bootstrapability, where we can inspect like 100 bytes of binary, and if we trust those, then we can bootstrap it up to the operating system that then builds the binary, and then we can compare it between different users. So they are doing a huge effort on that front. But when you go to bitcoincore.org, or what was it, then you can find 25 different ways of installing Bitcoin Core. So you can get it on every major Linux distribution. You can get it, and famously, there was a modification of Bitcoin Core in one of those distributions where one of the core developers didn't like Satoshi Dice back then. And he was the maintainer of one of the repositories, so he he blocked Satoshi Dice on his version. Like, glad he was not a hacker that wanted all the Bitcoins of all those users, but he just wanted to piss off the Satoshi Dice project. Yeah, I mean, he argues it's an attack on Bitcoin. I'm more and more in his camp on that one, but that shouldn't justify to make such a major modification to the client that everybody is trusting to be whatever is in the source code at GitHub that got reviewed and signed off by many other people to be the real deal, when on my distribution it has some major difference there. And even if it has a minor difference, that should be a huge red flag to kick this maintainer off doing maintenance there, unless it was heavily advertised that whatever his distribution doesn't like this way of doing things, and it has to be blocked because of this and that.
So how does this relate back though to the browser extension wallets?
Oh yeah, the browser extension is something that you control, so you can not update it, and you can also install it directly from the GitHub. So you can download the source code, and you can locally compile it and install it in your browser and use it, and that's relatively easy for a developer, and it's thus very transparent because it's all JavaScript. That's kind of easy to read, but JavaScript has the problem of millions of dependencies that have millions of dependencies themselves. So it should be relatively easy to backdoor some deeply hidden dependency there.
Attack. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the progressive web apps also should be possible to install from a zip file, and you could install that and rarely update. Yeah, but the way progressive web apps currently get distributed is go to that website, and oh, by the way, that website is a progressive web app, so you can install it. Yeah, and then you click on install, but then if you go to that website, then the website can decide to auto update, and it's on the website's discretion. But the website could also not have auto update. And if I review the code and I see, it has no auto update activated, yeah, then I could say, okay, unless the user hits the button to update, it won't update on its own. And then I could decelerate it at that point.
Right.
But it is something that, I mean, there's also Android apps that run code that they load remotely. And that's advertised by the platform developers of those app development platforms. Like, oh, don't wait for Google and Apple to approve your update. You just install, you just distribute the first version, and then you get quick iterations, and you can do test A/B testing and stuff, and have the best developer experience ever. But those tools, of course, can circumvent the disabled auto update,
right?
As they never update, apparently.
So this auto update, I mean, we're talking about it more and more. It seems like it's probably one of the most important things to consider when working with a wallet. And it sounds like from the browser extension bit, it sounds like you're basically saying they can be safe so long as you make sure you turn auto update off. The browser wallets are, like we're saying, are horrible. Never use them. But you're saying these extensions can be safe.
Right.
It's just right. And with mountains and mountains of JavaScript, that can be a huge disaster. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole of supply chain attacks in the JavaScript ecosystem, because there's I mean, this is one of the big reasons why I hate coding JavaScript, because of how much nonsense packages you have to install to do anything. But that's a whole other conversation. So okay, so rewinding a little bit. So we're now a technical person. We're assessing wallets. It sounds like, number one, we want to obviously be able to go through wallet scrutiny. We want to make sure we can verify the code is what it does. Number two, we want to make sure the wallet that we're using doesn't have an auto update feature, and we can actually choose which updates we want to roll out. We can actually verify what the code in these updates looks like. What else? As a technical person, what else do we look for when choosing a wallet?
Well, I recommend to avoid those wallets that support thousands of coins, because either they are custodial, so they're just a slim front for something that supports thousands of things remotely, or you have the libraries of all those projects on your device, and then if whatever shitcoin makes an update, now for the new feature you need the new version of the library, and then the library gets integrated into the wallet that also touches the bitcoins. Then from that update you get your bitcoin stolen. So as convenient it is to have many coins for the shitcoiners in one product, the security is not on your side if you choose a multi-coin product.
That's actually something I didn't even think about. Yeah, if you're choosing another coin, you obviously have more libraries, and you just have more surface area for an attack vector, attack surface. Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. So in the wallet ecosystem, this is where I'm going to show my naivety here. So I know you're not in the ETH or smart contract ecosystem, but in the smart contract ecosystem, security reviews are huge, right? Pretty much every single serious smart contract protocol posts several security reviews, several audit reports, security reviews. There's some debate on what the naming should actually be, but a lot of these firms, they literally will go line by line through these code bases and say, hey, here are the different attack vectors that we see. Here's what we recommend, blah, blah, blah. It feels like we would need something like this for the wallet ecosystem. You're saying, hey, it'll cost, $10,000, maybe tens of thousands of dollars to do a review. Is that common practice? Should we expect these firms to have security reviews on their hardware?
On the hardware wallets, it is actually something that is being done, because there is also, with wallets, the problem is that most Bitcoin wallets don't have an obvious way to monetize. So there's an obvious thing, we need this kind of wallet, and techies, as techies are, they just develop it, and it's open source, so they stop where they are happy with the product, and others chip in, and but it's not for profit. So then where do you get $10,000 for a review when the wallet product itself doesn't get any revenue? So the product I was working on, my boss had his agreements with people that wanted to get other coins into the product, and he got money for integrating. I guess he got money. I have to be careful what I'm talking about here, but I guess he got money for integrating another coin, and then it was my job to integrate that library. And so he had a huge incentive to get these coins supported, and to support these, I would either have to spend, I don't know, hundreds of hours to implement the protocol of that other coin, or I would have to integrate their library. And I did not trust that library. It was some nascent shitcoin that I had no trust in at all. And I didn't want that in our code base. So I spent many, I don't know, several weeks trying to understand their source code. Of course, we had to know the source code, and it was also open source, I guess. And I went through that, and I tried to do the audit. But yeah, it would have been better to have some external audit for that and to approve of that. But when the next version comes out and they say, we need a tiny change there and here, and sorry, I digress there.
All good. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The auditing is easier when you have some startup that claims to be decentralized, but in the end, it's just the tokens of some startup that get some venture capital to make something that's supposedly decentralized, but in the end, they get some whatever developer tax or some special position in the ecosystem, and they get their revenue later from that. Then for actually decentralized products where there is no obvious leverage for whoever implements the tools to use those.
Right. So it sounds like you're saying monetization is difficult, and because it's difficult, we should all do security reviews on hardware wallets. But a lot of times it sounds like what you're saying is they just don't. So is looking for security reviews, looking for audits on these code bases, is that something we should be doing as technical people? Should we be reviewing these security audits, reviewing these security reports? And if they don't have them, should we just stay away?
I think we should try to be a bit more influencers and get more people to care about these. And at Wallet Scrutiny, we consider that the provider himself might also get corrupted, either coerced or being a psychopath who does psychopath things. So the security review would not be able to stop something that the provider themselves puts into the code. But of course, there's also a lot of incompetence in the space. So many wallets do things that are obviously dangerous, and those things could be caught by security reviews. And so if there is the same product with or without security review, then the security audit does definitely add to the security of the product. But it is not a panacea to having a secure product. There is never a secure product.
Right.
It's always just a question of how. I mean, the low-hanging fruits certainly get attacked first. So if something looks very competent, then I hope that hackers don't try to get in there, that psychopaths don't try to infiltrate that company or and try to get into the key positions to make it insecure. But it's not. There's no guarantees.
Right. How's the white hacking scene, or the white hat? How are the white hats in the Bitcoin wallet ecosystem? Are there a lot of them? Do they not care because there might not be any bug bounties? What's the ethical hacking side of this look like?
Oh, I think people that find backdoors or issues, they're always happy to brag about finding them. Let me brag a bit too. So we found a really serious issue with the Ledger wallet back then.
When was this?
When I was working at the wallet
Got it.
product, so we were developing what was it, Segwit. Yeah, so we were integrating Segwit, and as we were developing our own Bitcoin libraries, we had a bit more work with that than other products. And we had the decision, should like the Ledger suite treats a Segwit account different from the non-Segwit account.
Right.
So you could either spend your Segwit coins and get your change to a Segwit address, or you could spend your legacy coins and get your change to a legacy address. And we said that is a privacy issue, that is very inconvenient. We treat the Segwit account as a legacy account, so you can spend to a legacy address from your account either way, and you can spend the coins from legacy or Segwit, it doesn't matter. And so because we were spending from different accounts there was like an issue that where does the change go to, and how was that exactly? So our developer said, oh yeah, the implementation was a bit complicated in Trezor, but defining the change address in Ledger was super easy. I just put it there and it worked. And I was like, that shouldn't be that easy.
Wow. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we found that you could put any change address there, and the Ledger wouldn't show you the change address.
Wow.
It wouldn't show you that it is your own or not actually a change address. It would just trust that the companion app says this is a change address, and it would go with it.
Wow. So did you bring that up to Ledger? What did they do?
Yeah, and I was very much in a hurry that they release a fix, and I felt like they are dragging their feet, and I was like, hey, if by next week they don't make an update and whatever, then we'll publish that. Don't
you were
use your Ledger one.
Yep.
I was very excited about the whole thing, but I understand now.
Wow.
I totally understand that it was the right thing to not rush it, release the fix and not immediately say that it is fixing a serious issue, etc., etc. But it was a crazy issue. Like the change address in Ledger was provided as a Bitcoin address. The change address in Trezor is provided as account number 12, return address 24 as an index. And so the Trezor calculates the actual address, and the Ledger just takes whatever you give it.
Right. We actually just did an interview on Tuesday with what do you do when you find a live vulnerability, right? And that's always going to be kind of this pressure, right? You as a white hat, you go, oh my God, the world needs to know about this. This is a serious issue. You guys need to fix it. Otherwise, I'm going to go public. But at the same time, if they rush it, there's a chance that they screw it up even worse. We've actually seen that several times as well, where a protocol goes, oh my God, you're right. There's a bug. Don't worry. We're going to have it fixed in an hour or in 2 hours. They rush a patch. Oh my God, you just made it 10 times worse. And yeah, it's one of the difficult parts about being in the security space is, what do you do when you find a live bug? You want to move fast. The time is ticking, but at the same time, if you move too fast, you slip, you fall, you make a wild mistake. That's one of the worst things that you can do. So this has been phenomenal listening to all these stories, kind of how you approach wallets, how you think about wallets. And it really sounds like my takeaway from this is the wallet scenario wallets in general are in a much worse spot than even I thought they were, right? I knew they were in a great spot. Sounds like they're in a much worse spot. So what are the things that we need to normalize to make wallets better? So what do we need to normalize? What do we need to change about our culture so that we can have safer wallets? We can have a safer culture around wallets.
I would hope that those with lots of stake, and I was just looking at a graph where Block, who is sponsoring me to do this work, was listed as one of the top 10 holders of Bitcoin. And then there's some that I think they were number 10 in that list. So they are now the big ETFs. And if all those companies that have huge stakes in Bitcoin would dedicate the same percentage to work that I'm doing and others are doing that are getting grants from the various parties there, if they would chip in the same percentage, I think we would not have to worry too much. Then we would have the money for audits of the most reasonable products. I mean, there's just unreasonable products. There's no point in actually reviewing all 6,000 products, especially the custodial ones. Yeah, they should have their protocols. And if, of course, Coinbase is managing the funds of ETFs, and there's one ETF that has custody in a legacy single signature address, and I mean, there's things we could talk about, but if there was as much money on the security issue there, then I think we could educate people. We could push to all people using reasonable self-custodial solutions, or the custodians to use the right tools to keep the funds safe. And I think it doesn't scale to educate every last user on those things. So the influencers should do their job and recommend the best products in the space. And then I think others will learn the lessons from the various hacks. And as much as I hate scammers getting money from those, I think there's no shortcuts to keeping everybody safe. People YOLO into the next thing that gives them 10% per week, and you cannot teach them to keep their hands off those.
Yeah, something that we as an industry are fighting. Well, Leo, this has been phenomenal. I've learned a ton. I know everyone's going to get a lot out of listening to this. Is there anything else you want to say before we jump off here?
No, check out Wallet Scrutiny. There's a methodology page where we explain all the steps that go into the testing of those products. And yeah, do your due diligence and don't trust any one influencer with your decisions, and don't get scared from self-custody neither. It's something you have to dig a bit into, but the solution cannot be to skip self-custody because it's too complicated.
Definitely. Awesome. Leo, thank you so much for the words here. Thank you extra for all the work that you're doing with Wallet Scrutiny. Thank you for bringing more attention to the security culture around wallets and making wallets more secure and helping the industry learn and grow. Thank you for all you're doing, and looking forward to more of your work and more of these reviews in the future.
Thank you, Patrick. It was a pleasure.
All right.